Hello, lovies, and welcome to another edition of A Little Perspective. This is the Entrepreneur Edition. This month, I am talking to several entrepreneurs, and I am super, super excited to have one of my very, very favorite people, Jolan Wedgeworth, with me today. She is a realtor, and I just cannot wait to hear about becoming an entrepreneur during a pandemic and absolutely killing it. She's, like I said, one of my favorite people. We've gotten to grow close together over this last year, and she's become one of my business besties, which if you don't have one, you certainly need to get one, especially as an entrepreneur. So without further ado, Yo, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, hey, and yes, I usually go by Yo. My name is Yolan. I usually go by Yo. And I'm a local realtor. And like Angie mentioned, it was my first year really last year as a full-time entrepreneur. Just like her, in January, we kind of were like, hey, guess what? This is all I do. I don't do anything else but run my own business. And that was before we knew that there was going to be a pandemic. So there was a lot of adjustment with that. But anyway, about me, I am also a mom and a wife. I've got two little boys. They're 8 and 12. They go to school in the Pass Christian School District, and they're super fun. I'm pretty nerdy. I like books. I like crafting. I like to cook. I like music. Rock music's my thing. If you haven't talked to me before, if you've talked to me before, you're probably like blah, blah, blah. Super into playing guitar. And yeah, that's really me. But as far as a realtor, my passion really is just anything that I can do to be a great connector for whatever your real estate goals are. So, if you're a first-time home buyer, it's totally my jam. If this is your fifth house and you're an investor, I love helping with that. I just really like not just to share knowledge, but to really connect with the people and their needs in their life, and whatever I could do to help you elevate your life through real estate. I'm down with that.
I love your passion for your clients. I get to hear firsthand how much you put into them and invested them. So, tell us, how did you get into real estate?
So, as a mom, I spent a lot of years doing jobs that worked around me being able to be available for my kids. But I was also a manager. I managed people. So if you've ever managed people, you know that you're always you're always really working. And um, it was really, really rewarding, helping young people succeed and being a leader. It was absolutely wonderful. And the last place I was doing that was at Starbucks in Biloxi. So, a lot of you would recognize that. I was there most mornings serving coffee and running my team. But while I was doing that, I was having difficulties with the first home that my husband and I bought. And there was so much we didn't know when we bought our home, because they didn't have like, iPhones, and, it wasn't so easy to just go onto Zillow and look at this, that, or the other. And, it just it wasn't as fast paced and resourceful as real estate is now. So, I had gotten into a situation where we just didn't know what to do. So I asked one of my customers at Starbucks, and he gave me a lot of advice. And in the advice, I learned that real estate is so much more than the person just showing you this house that you like and helping you make an offer. There's so much legality involved. There's so much personal attention that needed to have been made that I didn't particularly get. And not to disparage the person that helped me, but really, we just didn't have the knowledge. So, as I'm being guided as to what could have been different, and well, basically, I couldn't do anything about it at this point. My eyes are opening to what this industry really is, and it was fascinating. So that's kind of where the conversation turned with that customer of mine at Starbucks. And I'm, asking more questions. And I watched him go from one brokerage as a team leader to opening his own brokerage. And I'm like, wow. And I also watched like everything about him kind of metamorphosis. It was like a metamorphosis. And I was just like, wow, this is really amazing that you have, really not just elevated yourself, but you've taken this team and you've built this business, and it was absolutely amazing. So I would compliment him and ask him questions, and he finally asked me to join. And I really am very grateful to him for that.
Oh, I don't think I knew that. That's so awesome. I love that. It doesn't surprise me in the least that that fascinated you because you do love people, and I guess you have to when you work at a place like Starbucks, and you also love social stuff and sociology and that kind of thing. Um, so what like when you made the decision to take the leap, obviously before we knew it was going to be a pandemic, you know that's hard because becoming an entrepreneur is hard in and of itself, but then real estate can be so, ebb and flow, roller coaster. So it's like, is this the right decision? How did you know that this was going to be the right decision for you to jump into this full time?
Well, I had a lot of support. I had support from him and from my friends, and you particularly inspired me. You did that very thing yourself. And while you were scared, you said, I'm scared as you were jumping. And, that's what you have to do when you're passionate about something and you're really passionate about delivering something that you know is going to be valuable to other people. When you know that it's not just about money, and it's about what you can do to be another great drop in this big ocean, it makes it easy because you know that if you are giving it the passion that you have no choice but to be successful. And I knew it was going to be okay.
That's awesome. So you knew it was going to be okay when you made the jump. I'm sure you were nervous, but then COVID-19 hits and things kind of just are so unsure and uncertain and not having a clue what's going to happen. How did you feel then? Like, did you still feel like I knew this is what I was supposed to do? Did you wonder, do I need to go back to Starbucks, or what was your thoughts then?
Well, I was absolutely just as scared as everyone else about what the present and the future was going to hold. I never once looked back. That's never happened. But even at that point, I had already developed relationships with people that trusted me to guide them still on the real estate journeys that they were already on, and then the ones that they wanted to be on. Sometimes people come to me 6 months, 12 months before they're ready, and they need me. And I didn't have the option of going, well, this is hard, because I said I would do it. And if you're committed, you're committed. And so it just was a matter of going back to the drawing board and how do I do this? And the hardest part was, having the kids there, because the kids, they were out of school in March, like everybody else's kids. So, working from home while my kids are there, and having to help them deal emotionally with everything, and still running my business. It was hard, but definitely, it was so worth it. There was never, an option to do anything else.
And so you persevered, you pushed through, you did it for the reasons, you kept your why. And you and I both commiserated over the homeschooling, kids home, entrepreneurship thing. And so I'm so grateful for you to be able to have had you by my side to go through that, because I'm not sure how I would have made it otherwise, because that was definitely one of the hardest parts for sure. We're both very conscious parents, and we want to do our best, and that was hard. But you not only did it, but you had an amazing year. So tell us about your amazing year during one of the hardest times ever.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the beginning of it, I don't know if everybody knows, the real estate market was not booming at the beginning of the pandemic. It is now, yeah. But at the beginning, people were afraid to sell their houses because they didn't want sick people coming in their homes. People were afraid to go look at houses. I was afraid to take people to look at houses. So that whole going back to the drawing board, and that whole thing where they say, necessity is the mother of invention. Just doing things differently, that really elevated my ability to meet my goals. So, and I am very proud of it. But the very beginning, doing virtual tours. I was not a virtual tour giver before. I don't love being in front of cameras. Actually, it makes me feel very uncomfortable, if you can't tell. But I added that to part of the service that I gave to my clients because they needed that from me, and it was safe to do that as well. So that was something new that made it where I was able to do more for people, especially people that were up north. We have a lot of people up north that wanted to move here because, they started thinking about their lives and like, oh, this is kind of this is kind of not what I want. I want to live somewhere warm and beautiful. And also, our restrictions weren't as tight as some of the places up north. So we had a lot of people moving down, and they needed me. They needed somebody that was going to go in and give them these virtual tours and things. But then also just, how can I have my kids with me and do this? I can actually, kids are very resilient. And so I was able to do more than I thought that I could. I didn't have to compartmentalize in the way that I thought I had to. But that's really how it just was, looking at other options and knowing what's possible instead of what's just planned.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So you mentioned that the market wasn't great back then, which, obviously for some, but the market is a constant ebb and flow even in the best of times. And so how do you as a person, not as a realtor, but as a mom, as a wife, as a person, how do you overcome that? How do you compartmentalize, like you said, that to where you don't allow that to to wear on you, because it really can.
I would say just like any other business person, just like you, I call you. That's one thing I definitely do. Well, because mindset is such a huge part of everything that we do, whether we work for a big corporation or whether we're entrepreneurs. But as entrepreneurs, it's even more important that we have our mindset really in check all the time. We have to, wake up ready to do it every day, and knowing that things don't go as planned and we don't have a safety net below us necessarily, unless we've built it for ourselves. And that's the other thing. I just made sure that I, planned for possibilities. And, when you go into business, you make sure you do those things. And of course, they still go awry. But, and that's what I did. But it's just a matter of making sure that your support systems are there. You're feeding yourself and your soul. And whether that be through your support system or through meditation, if that's something that you do, or you and I would read a lot and we share a lot of books that inspire us. And sometimes you just need that reminder of the fact that you can do this, and I reach out for those things. I don't feel great about everything every single moment of every single day. And I think I share that more now than I used to. I used to not share it at all. It was always sunny, sunny, sunny. But yeah, there are definitely those times, but it's just a matter of, getting it in check. Just, you gotta get back on track. And when you know what your values are, it's easier to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your values, your why, mindset, those are all really great points for sure. And I'm sure that it all plays a role in your work-life balance too. I love that we both had our families as one of the main reasons why we wanted to become entrepreneurs, so that we could be more present and have more control over our schedules and such. So what kind of suggestions or advice or tips would you give to someone who is a new entrepreneur, also a mom or dad for that matter, that is looking to find some balance of work life? I know that it's kind of a myth, like there's not a balance in the sense of 50-50, but you can find a way to kind of work around both areas. What advice would you give?
I would say, make sure that what you're doing is something you're passionate about. That's the very first thing, because if it's not, you're not gonna be able to separate those things very well. Because sometimes they do cross over, And that's okay. You have to be okay with that. But other than that, it's, trusting yourself, trusting the people in your life that love you, but more than anything, and you and I talk about it all the time, and I know we talk about it in our women's groups and things, is managing your time. You have got to manage your time and protect your time. Your time is so very valuable. And, it's, you got to love your business and love yourself and love your family enough to follow through with those plans, because we can all day long say that, my time is blocked from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. for this, and this. And then people are, well, can you make an exception for this? I've got this. And of course we have to make exceptions. Of course we have to be flexible, but still knowing that, we protect our time very, very much so. It's very important that we do that. And really scheduling things that are not business or family related as well. So, scheduling the time that you take for yourself, whether that be for personal growth or just total and complete downtime.
What is one of your favorite things to do during that downtime for yourself and yourself alone?
So that it changes. Right now, it's been, trying to learn new riffs on my guitar. I just totally want to do that. And that's a me thing. Like, that's not something somebody can do with me. They can't just go like, hey, mom, can I come do that with you? So I know that's mine. And I love that. But I also, I love to cook. And so, if I'm going to do something in the kitchen that I've never done before, that's something that the kids can come in and help me with. Other things for downtime is, reading for sure. And I just love to read. It just, it takes me to a different place and it helps me get a perspective. And I think that when we're not as focused on like ourselves and our ego, and we kind of broaden ourselves to like, okay, like, look, I'm just a small part of this big universe. Boy, it can put problems in perspective pretty easily. A little perspective.
I like it. Oh man, you're so good at that. So tell us then one of your favorite fiction books and one of your favorite nonfiction books.
Oh, girl, I can talk about that all day long. So my favorite fiction book of all time is Wuthering Heights. I read it like 3 times a year. I absolutely love Wuthering Heights because, well, I just love Catherine. I love that she haunts this man through all the entire book. And that's not a spoiler, because if you don't know the story of Wuthering Heights, that's on you. But I absolutely love it. I love everything. I love the passion. I love the emotional depth of it. But anyway, so that's my favorite fiction book. My favorite nonfiction book, ooh, that's tough. Right now, I'm telling everybody, you have to read Salt, Sugar, Fat. It's a great nonfiction book that I have also read many, many times. I have it on audiobook, I have it on ebook, I have a physical copy. I share with people all the time. I love it because it's about how the food industry has tried to manipulate everyone. So all the things on the grocery shelves, why they're there, why they have the ingredients they have in them, not only how they affect our bodies, but like just knowing the why. Like, we're all kind of falling into this trap that was set up for us by the government and by food giants. I mean, just being aware of that is not only helpful, it's really fascinating. I love it.
Yeah, that's that whole your love for sociology type stuff. But
Yeah,
I agree that the Wuthering Heights is my favorite classic, followed shortly by Jane Eyre. I love both of them. So it doesn't surprise me that we have that in common. And I find it fascinating that to understand like how lobbyists play a role and how the government plays a role in these widespread beliefs that we have, and how one study can be used as a citation for a belief that everybody holds to be true, when there's plenty of other studies that actually counteract that. And so it's good to know, because it's good to know that you're being bamboozled, but it's also good to know because then you have to start like looking deeper in everything. Because if you can trick an entire country into thinking that, milk is the best form of calcium for you, then, what else can you trick a large group of people into thinking? So it just really triggers that analytical thinking in all aspects, which we should all do, for before we hold on to beliefs to be 100% true. So that doesn't, I love that. That's awesome. All right. So what is a seller's market? What is a buyer's market? You talked about how last year nobody wanted to sell, and then I hear this year it's a seller's market, and I kind of get it, but what is it?
And okay, I'll explain to you my perspective of that. Now, I'll tell you that everyone in the industry is going to tell you something a little bit different as far as whether something's a seller's market or a buyer's market at times. I mean, right now it's quite obviously a seller's market. So the reason it is because right now there are more buyers than there are homes. So sellers are able to negotiate higher prices and, better deals because there are more people interested in their homes. And the opposite of that would be a buyer's market. So, a buyer can negotiate better, get a better deal on a home when there are more homes available than there are people looking to buy them. So right now it's very, very strange. This is really, really unusual because not only is it a seller's market, but sellers are afraid to sell because they don't have a place to go. So if you're going to stay here on the Gulf Coast, you don't want to sell your house because you don't have a place to buy.
Yeah.
It's really difficult. So, unless you're completely relocating, people don't want to let go. That's one of the reasons that inventory is so, so low. And then, of course, builders' prices have increased substantially. So even new homes are more expensive than they used to be. So, this is a really unusual time. I have sellers that are waiting to sell, but they're also waiting for a home to buy. So, we're just kind of waiting for that perfect home, which is also very difficult to negotiate because if you're making an offer on a home and it's contingent on your home selling, that's not as good as somebody that's going to come to you with just a cash offer and, there's no contingency is what we call it, a contingency. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does. Okay. It's really, really interesting. And no, it absolutely makes sense. It was a great explanation. Thank you. And something else, something I thought of while you were talking was one of the things that I have learned from you is that your relationship with a lot of your clients starts so far before they even sell or buy. And that thought had never really crossed my mind. I thought, okay, I'm ready to buy a home. I've got all my, ducks in a row. Let me call up Yo and do it. But, you have these relationships with people who may not buy or sell, depending on their situation, within a year, but you work with them, along that path. And I find that fascinating because there's such a thought of the real estate world being go, 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 it being kind of cold. And I don't know if that's just my perception or if that's a general perception. And so I found that's one of the things that I found the most fascinating through our friendship that I've learned just indirectly about your real estate business, at least. And you mentioning that made me think of that. So
if you don't mind me saying, I think, there are those people, right? There are those agents that are going to be really transaction driven, and they may not want to or have the ability to take the time to nurture clients. The way that you see things in the media about how real estate is, I saw it too, and it can be that way. It can totally be that way. But a lot of agents are like myself, and we do develop those relationships. And the thing is, for myself, when I talk about housing opportunity, that means everybody. And it's my desire for everyone to have the freedom and the independence of being a homeowner. When you are renting, that's not necessarily a negative thing. That might work out perfectly for you, but it's not going to be something that works out perfectly for you for the rest of your life all the time. Sometimes it does, but not all the time. And having a home is something essential to every human being on earth.
Mm-hmm.
So for somebody to say, okay, well, your credit's not in line, or you don't have a down payment, so you're just going to have to rent, and that's just the only option that you have, that doesn't seem right to me. It's not. We all have a right to housing opportunity, and to that financial independence of knowing that that's our home, that we're not living in someone else's home and paying their mortgage and growing their assets. There comes a time in your life, most of us, where we want to own homes. So if that's something that you have as a goal in 3 years, 5 years, 6 months, 12 months, I'm definitely going to be available to help.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah. I'm glad that whatever you said made me think of that, because I think that is so special, because there is that thought of it being one way, and to know that, because it is a dream of most people, it's the American dream, and while it may not be something that you can attain now, it may take you a while to get there. Then the sooner you can kind of get the ball rolling, the better. So I think that's wonderful. So tell me what you would tell someone who is looking to jump into real estate today.
To actually be a realtor.
A realtor, sorry. Yes.
Oh yeah, no, that's cool. And I do. I've had friends that have done that. I would just say, if you are sure that this is something that you're passionate about, you have no reason not to go ahead and start right now. But if you think that you want to go into real estate because you think it's easy money, don't do it ever, because it's not at all. It is very hard. The rewards are wonderful, but they are not all financial. So, I think that some people think that, oh, well, you're going to make this much. And what people think realtors make and what realtors make is kind of like those memes that you see, like what you think I do versus what I really do. I mean, it can be lucrative, obviously, but it's not what people think, and you have to put a lot of money back into your business, just like any entrepreneur does. So your earnings turn into spending, right? So yeah, I would just tell them, if you're sure that this is what you want to do, this is how you want to have your career, and if that's for those reasons, go for it. And then, I think the first place to start would be talking to one of your realtor friends, right? Or somebody that, that's a realtor, or, if you know of a brokerage that you trust, you go talk to them. And I do recommend that you talk to more than one brokerage before you decide that you're going to assign yourself to one or the other. But I did that before I went to real estate school. So I had someone helping me along the way while I was in real estate school. A lot of people go, well, I'm going to be a realtor. So they go to real estate school first, and then they go looking for a brokerage. I definitely don't recommend that route, because just knowing where you're going to end up while you're going through school, and having that kind of accountability and access to the business while you're learning is really invaluable.
Yeah, that's interesting. Something else I've learned is how different brokerages can be and can run. And I've asked you a lot of questions about different things, and that's really neat. And I think it's great, because it can, some fits are better than others for different people. So that's definitely a good suggestion to feel out, because I don't know that that's common knowledge, that, people run their businesses differently as far as commissions and things like that go. So kind of having an understanding of what you're looking for and what kind of support you're going to get, like you said, is definitely something I would recommend, like you said. So excellent. Okay, so what else? Did I miss anything?
Yeah, I mean, from kind of what we were talking about, and some of the questions that you had, I think you've covered a lot. The only other thing I would say is, just don't be scared. If you're a buyer, because I think that's where most of the fear comes from. People don't think they could ever afford to buy a house, or that they're just not ready to buy a house. Don't assume anything. You don't know what you don't know.
Mm.
And because you don't know what you don't know, you could be wasting your own money and your own time by
Mhm.
just not being aware. The worst that can happen is that you find out that you're right, you weren't ready to buy a home. That's
Sure.
the worst that can happen. And I
Yeah.
mean, is that so scary to find
Right.
out that you were correct, you weren't ready? But then why weren't you ready? And until you know why, then it's kind of difficult to figure out what you can do to get there. So, there's so many programs out there for first-time home buyers that are, some of them for the state of Mississippi, some of them are different mortgage companies that will assist you. There's so much out there. And I mean, 0% down is really, really common. So you could do like a USDA loan, which is just certain areas that you can buy a home that's USDA eligible. And yes, there are other criteria that you have to meet. You don't just get 0% financing just cause, but those things are out there, and you don't know what you don't know. So my suggestion to anybody that's interested in buying their own home, but just has that little voice in their head that tells them that they can't, is find out, see if you're ready. And you might be paying a lot less in your own home's mortgage payment than you're paying in rent.
Yeah. Yeah. That is something I learned at Habitat, is often that's the case. You can get a house mortgage for cheaper than you can rent, for sure. So I love that. What's the worst case scenario? You're not ready. Well, you didn't have a home before you started. So what's it hurt to find out? And then, like you said, you can find out what the steps are that you need to take to get ready, if that is something you want. So that's awesome. I love it. Thank you so much for talking with me. I appreciate all the information that you shared. You shared a lot of information with us. And, if anybody wants to connect with you or has any other questions that we didn't cover, what is the best way for them to reach out to you?
Well, I love Facebook DM, actually. So if you're looking at this, you're on Facebook right now. So you can just DM me, and I'll chat with you then, or, you can call me. My phone number is on my Facebook as well. And I have a website, yowedgeworth.com. Can't get any easier than that. And if you go to my website, you can actually search for all of the homes that are available too. And I have connections, like I have links for mortgage lenders. So you can actually apply for a loan on my website if you want. But yeah, DMing me is fine, because I think that getting acquainted is always good, right? So
Mhm.
you sometimes people want to ask a question before they jump all the way in. So, and
Yeah,
Angie, I thank you. I mean, this was really fun. I was really nervous, but this has been super fun. And now I want to do it the other way. I don't know. I'm going to have to interview you, but you do those a lot. You're good.
we can definitely make that happen, for sure. So, and you did wonderfully. You didn't seem nervous at all. So I'm glad that it's just a conversation. We're just friends. It's all good. All right, y'all. So connect with Yo if you have any other questions. Check out our website. She is a fount of knowledge, and she loves people, and she's very, very giving. So don't hesitate. And I hope that you all have an amazing evening. And I love y'all. Bye.